Pages, Pixels, Pieces is the next segment of our show. This segment is brought to you by our sponsor, the Fantasy Shop in Maplewood, Missouri. We're proud to have our local comic book shop as our official sponsor. Comics, collectibles, toys, Magic the Gathering, and board games. The Fantasy Shop in St. Louis, proudly serving St. Louis since 1981. And really excited. We're talking about a few fun events we're going to hold in the new year, 2019. Also some giveaways that will be more themed-based. And Dave was talking about statues and hard books and figures and just the baskets that we're going to give away in 2019 are going to be ridiculous.
They're really good to us down there.
They're very good to us. And that's why we drive 2.5 hours to get our weekly comics from them.
We went to the local comic book shop this week, and there were some great stories on that one.
Yeah,
he didn't disappoint.
Yeah.
I've only been once, and it was after Wizard World, so it's just like...
Oh, to Maplewood Fantasy Shop?
Yeah, so it's just one of those things. At some point in the new year, I definitely need to go.
I was going to say, we were down there about every 4 weeks.
So
no, we'll get you down there for sure. You got to be at the new location, the new...
it's beautiful, spacious.
That's what I'm hearing.
Bright colored.
Like the pictures and everything, so...
The first topic here in Pages, Pixels, Pieces is this past week's worth of comics because goodness, they were amazing. Okay, so you had Qui-Gon Jinn, the single shot, the Age of the Republic. You also had Star Wars 58 and Star Wars Adventures. So here we are on the VO for Qui-Gon. David, let's first things first. What did you think about this comic? Because it's perfect. It was perfect.
When they announced this line of comics coming out, I was really excited for this one more than any because I feel like Qui-Gon is a character that we did not get to spend enough time with on screen. So right off the bat, I was looking forward to this comic, and it didn't disappoint. Qui-Gon and Yoda have some very tender moments about learning about the Force and their conversations, and I think we learn a little bit about why Qui-Gon was never on the Jedi Council based upon his conversations with Yoda. Now, correct me, Yoda was not Qui-Gon's master, right? Yoda trained Dooku, and Dooku trained Yoda, who trained Obi-Wan Anakin. That's kind of the lineage, right? So it's interesting that it was this tender moment with Yoda and not with Count Dooku, to me.
I guess at this point, though, the Dooku's not in the picture.
Right, he's already gone.
But also, I mean, Dooku could be there, and Qui-Gon could still have the conversations with Yoda. I think there was probably a relationship there. At least that's what I got from the comic, is the fact that Qui-Gon wanted to be on the council, but he was also wanted to be more in line with the council. But he was kind of a free thinker, which tends to get you in trouble with the Jedi Order. Jesse, you read this comic. What is your thoughts on the fact that here you go? We know that Qui-Gon wanted the Jedi to be peacekeepers, but you start this comic off, he's dodging bullets trying to protect this princess. They flee off to Coruscant, and then when you know it, Qui-Gon finds his own Force planet.
Well, like my initial first, it's Qui-Gon. David said it. This is a character that on film, I don't feel like we got enough. I definitely felt like he died too soon. So getting this comic and everything, it gives a little bit of insight of who he was as a Jedi Master. His views on the Force, views on the Jedi, and you can definitely see, there is a clash there, even in the dialogue between him and Yoda. Like Yoda, he doesn't feel like they should actually be on Coruscant. That's where they shouldn't be centered on Coruscant. They should be elsewhere.
Because then they're a tool of the Republic and not necessarily their own entity.
But Yoda disagrees though, and everything, and Qui-Gon goes off to basically seek the wisdom of the Force and kind of realizes there is somewhat of you have to kind of meet things in the middle. But yeah, in terms of action and everything, I enjoyed it. And in terms of dialogue, so you get a little bit of a nice balance. You get action.
We start off with the lightsaber scene.
Yeah, and as far as the artwork goes, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I think it's proof. When you were reading this comic, I felt like every line Liam Neeson was saying, I think Jodie Hauser did a really great job of tapping into the character.
You could hear him saying it in your head.
And I think that's a testimony to how well she wrote this comic.
Do you think they had to enlarge the panels in the comic to compensate for Liam Neeson's height?
I don't even want to give that any... I don't want to give you any credit for that.
I like the relationship that Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon have in this. When Qui-Gon's running back to the ship in the beginning, and Obi-Wan's, a little snarkily says, "I guess the negotiations didn't go well." I could see that being a running joke between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan through their entire apprenticeship. And that was kind of cool to me that they've got inside jokes between them. And, of course, Qui-Gon's a little snarky back. There's a little middle ground between cutting down a tree and not cutting down a tree.
I just liked how the theme is balanced, and that also seemed to be in line with the character of Qui-Gon and the balance that he finds on this forest planet, the balance that he finds with Yoda. And I felt like this single shot, which bums me out, and that's why I say Jodie Hauser should get maybe a 5-issue miniseries with Qui-Gon to further explore the character. But I think this character does a really great job of giving you a little background into why Qui-Gon is a certain way in a Phantom Menace, and that relationship between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon in Phantom Menace. You get some support here in this single shot issue. So let's go to the next one. Star Wars 58 is the comic that I it's a love-hate relationship with the Star Wars main line because it's been an evolution. The writing has always been solid, but the art has been questionable. Now, I want to start with the story. So, David, when you think about Star Wars 58 and the fact that we're still on the moon of Hubin and our Luke, Leia, and Han are trapped on this planet, it's kind of like a rural community. It's kind of a similar place to where we live in real life. What do you think about this story here in Star Wars number 58 with them trying to get off this planet?
David, you and I had a conversation a couple days ago where we were discussing the Darth Vader line and that wrapping up, and you made the comment that Darth Vader has really given a stellar performance every single week or every single month that it's come out, and that not all comic lines do that. And the more comics I read, I can 100% completely understand. I follow the Flash, and sometimes you get a Flash war, which is great, but then other times you get, just another rogue story. And so this storyline that we're on right now, The Escape, is not doing a whole lot for me. To me, it feels like filler. It's not overly exciting. Luke Skywalker's getting a little sword work training, and Leia and Han are just kind of hanging out on the grass, having a cheesy moment like, Leia's parents did on Naboo. I don't know. I mean, Luke's running around with his lightsaber, which doesn't sound overly safe to me, and, I guess it's worse than running with scissors. This one, I don't know. This was part 3 of The Escape. I'm looking forward to The Escape being over so we can figure out what comes next, and maybe that'll tickle my fancy a little more.
I want to escape from The Escape because it all just feels like filler to me. It's not really all that exciting.
It doesn't feel like it did in the, I don't recall what they called the previous arc
Hope
where
Dies.
They were on. Yeah, was that the one where they were on
the space station and they were getting attacked by Vader and just completely wrecked? Yeah, that was awesome. That wasn't filler though. That was definitely that felt like a pivotal moment. David's always been complaining about the artwork, but I think Angel is doing a great job with the art.
It's just the faces for me.
But see,
the rest of it's fine.
But David, I think that you're just trapped in what you saw all those issues with Salvador LaRocca because if you put them next to each other,
you can tell.
You can tell a significant difference.
And I haven't done that.
A significant difference, and I feel like, especially with Han's face, it definitely looks a lot. It looks a lot more like, I want to say hand drawn, but there's like more texture to it. Like for some reason, Han's face stood out in the comic. So if you're at all apprehensive about the artwork, take a look at Han. Take a look at this issue. You'll see the improvements. Star Wars Adventures. This is Destroyer Down. This is a mini series. It's part 2. We don't usually talk about these, but I thought it was kind of interesting to bring up just because. It's Rey, climbing around the destroyers that have fallen on Jakku, and this isn't the big one that from The Force Awakens. It's just another destroyer, but it was kind of a cool concept. It's fine. She's digging through this old destroyer. I think it's one of those like propulsion destroyers. It's the one with the bulbs on the hull. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But she comes across this astromech. It ends up being like a rebellion astromech that has just been in there for all these years or whatever. And then the second half of the issue is like the backstory of how that droid got into that destroyer that got trapped on Jakku. And I really enjoy it. The nugget that stuck out to me the most was the reference to Red Attack, which is the planet that was first introduced, I believe it was first introduced in the 2003 Clone Wars microseries on Cartoon Network. And then they kept that when they did the Clone Wars with Dave Filoni and friends, the Clone Wars that most people are aware of. They kept that as the planet. That's where Dooku found Asajj Ventress. So I really like the inclusion of that. I thought that was a nice little nugget. and I was like, wow. I've been rewarded not just for liking the Clone Wars since 2008, but I've been rewarded for liking the Clone Wars since 2003. So as a guy who spends a lot of time trying to consume as much content as I can, that was a really nice payoff, because you're talking about something that's like 15, 16 years old. So that was pretty cool to me. Jesse, it's a kid's. Do you think that kind of a nugget is maybe lost on a kid's run, or do you think this is a good opportunity to throw a little nugget in there like that, and maybe that makes the kid curious and goes off and watches the original Clone Wars, or goes and watches the second version of Clone Wars?
I would say like this was on par with the Luke and Emperor short earlier. It has the same effect. You get that nice little tidbit where it might encourage them to go and actually. Well, I know about this Clone Wars, but maybe they'll dive a little bit deeper, into that and see that, there was actually a Clone Wars show prior and everything, and then they'll want to go check that out, and they'll find those tie-ins, like you said, and that can be exciting for somebody.
See, I didn't capture that when I read through the comic before we started preparing for the show, and hearing you guys talk about it, to me it's less about an educational opportunity and more about realizing that this is a galaxy, this is a shared universe, and everything is connected in some way.
I think that's a really great observation. That's actually that's a good point, because I think that's very deep.
Deep enough it could have come out of the Qui-Gon Yoda conversation. You want to put your boots on for that if we're going to continue this conversation.
Well, that's the comics that came out this past week, and we really are excited about them. We want you to let us know what you think about them in the comments down below. Let us know in the live chat if you're joining with us live. We do know what comics are coming out this coming week, and we want to show you those on screen right now. Han Solo, Imperial Cadet #2, the Darth Maul, Ages of Republic, Darth Maul #1. That's a single shot, and then Dr. Aphra, I believe it's 27?
27. Worst Among Equals Part 2.
So I think I can speak for everyone here. We're most excited for the Maul single shot.
Yeah, without a doubt.
The rumor I've heard is it's connected to the 5-issue miniseries we got earlier this year.
Okay.
Like that February-March time slot. I think that's when we got them all. I think that's what we're going to get.
Thank you for watching Beyond the Blast Doors. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Beyond the Blast Doors, a Star Wars conversation.